Welcome back. And please take your seats. Now, this afternoon session will explore the different approaches taken in 3 distinct regions to preserve and protect different kinds of memory. The first presentation is entitled Audiovisual Archiving in Northeast India, and it will be presented by Nathaniel Donbor, Nampui, MAJAW, if I pronounced that correctly. Nathaniel is an alumnus of the Mass Communication Research Center at Jamia Millia Islamia in New Delhi. He currently works as an assistant professor at the Department of Mass Media in St. Anthony's College in Shillong, where he teaches filmmaking and graphic design. Nathaniel heads the Northeast Indian AV Archive as the project director. He will showcase NEIAV Archive's activities and hopes to receive feedback, suggestions, and comments. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nathaniel, and I'm representing the Northeast India AV Archive, which is located in Shillong, in the northeastern state of Meghalaya. I'm here with 5 other colleagues of mine. And thank you so much, SEAPAVAA, for having us over. Also, our gratitude goes to the Thai Film Archive public organization. So let me start by saying that the Northeast India AV Archive is located in the college campus of St. Anthony's College, and is currently supported by the SERGI Peace Foundation and also the tourism department of the government of Meghalaya. So maybe perhaps just to let you know where we are in Southeast Asia, in the Indian subcontinent. So when we say Northeast India, we're essentially talking about the region to the northeast, which comprise of the 8 different states. And the states are Sikkim, Meghalaya, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Imphal, Mizoram, and Tripura. This area, home to about 45 million people, if not mistaken, is a very ethnically diverse region. We have over 238 different communities, indigenous communities, speaking over 220 languages. So I'm just going to sort of show you some photographs. I'm not going to show you 220 photographs of different indigenous tribes. Here's a lovely photo of some ladies here of the Apatani tribe of Arunachal Pradesh. Heading back, the Konyaks. The Konyaks of Nagaland. Here's another photo of some Mizo ladies in their traditional attire. And just to the west of us are the Garo indigenous community. The Garo community also belong to the state of Meghalaya, from where we're from. And me and my colleagues are from Shillong. And just coming up, leaving Shillong, you would see this, some Khasi ladies selling fruits on the roadside. So, getting here was quite a bit of a travel. First, we need to travel to Guwahati, which is a 3-hour drive. And then we need to take a 1-hour flight from Guwahati to Calcutta, because we don't have an international airport in that region. And then from Calcutta, we take a 2.5-hour flight to Bangkok, and then another 1.5 hours to Pattaya. We're also very glad that the Northeast India AV Archive is part of SERGI Peace Foundation's project titled Preserving and Sharing Histories and Memories of Northeast India. Our office is about 20 feet by 20 feet. We operate from a very small office in the campus of St. Anthony's College. Shillong is is a very hilly region, so we have very moderate temperature, not as warm as Pattaya. So we're really enjoying ourselves here in Pattaya. It's nice and warm. This is our small office. As you can see towards your left, we started in October 2019, and after quite a few years, after about a few months, we sort of renovated this classroom inside the campus. And to your left, we have cubicles where researchers, students and enthusiasts can access the material of the archive. These are the cubicles that are there in the office. So most of the work that we are currently doing is actually digitization of a lot of tapes, VHS tapes, mini DV, high-8, and even audio cassettes. Something that you need to know about Northeast of India, not many films were made in celluloid format. So, of course, in the state of Manipur, where filmmaking started in around the 1970s, there's quite a bit of celluloid film that's there. And we know that there's an organization there called the Manipur Film Development Society, which houses a lot of these celluloid films. But before the archive started, we also realized that there's a lot of content around in the other northeastern states which exist in these various state formats. And it was a conscious decision by us to actually look into what we could collect in these formats. Currently, we're actively collecting documentary films, newsreels, footages of content relating to, or stories relating to the tribes and the communities in the northeast of India. So this is my colleague's sort of cubicle. Most of the time you can find him cleaning the tapes, digitizing them. This is my colleague's workstation, and that's where you can find him most of the time digitizing a lot of these tapes. We also have received quite a lot of photographs. In fact, the biggest the most amount of material that we have in the archive are photographs, printed physical photographs, and also negatives in all sorts of formats, from 120mm to transparency slides, of course, various sizes in printed photographs. Because we handled so much, quite a bit of VHS tapes, and we didn't have much training in this. So over the years, we sort of learned on the job. Ben has been learning on the job. So he takes out the tapes and tries to. So as I was saying, because we get a lot of tapes, Ben has, my colleague Ben has tried to find a faster way of cleaning the tapes, because most of the tapes that we're getting are full of fungus and molds. And at one point of time, about 2 years back, he even got a pretty bad infection from the mold of the tapes that were there. So he was out for about a few weeks. So I'm just going to show you, what Ben has fashioned, and I think we've been working with too many magnetic tapes, so there's some interference with the microphone. Hello. All right. Yeah. So Ben has been able to fashion, something like this out of an old VCP because of the unavailability of equipment. Kudos to Ben, but it does take a bit of time to get work done. We get a lot of VHS. So the contraption is pretty simple. We have a green for forward and red for rewind. And I've seen Ben holding on to the tape so that it doesn't pop out too much. I've even seen him put a hammer on top of the tape so that it keeps the tape down. So that's what we do most of the time. And I also like to tell you that very recently we did get information that in the state of Manipur, so the hill areas of of Manipur, and just about a 3-hour drive from Imphal, which is about 12-hour drive from Shillong, we got information from one of our collaborators that, in the 1980s in Manipur, a lot of people in a town called Ukhrul were making a lot of films by themselves on VHS, not on 8mm, not on 16mm, but on VHS. But then, at that time, because of the insurgency in Manipur, filmmaking was completely banned, and video cassette shops, rental shops actually stopped, and so did filmmaking. We recently learned that there are families who still have these tapes, and we're trying our best to actually get these tapes and hopefully digitize the films that are there from the hilly parts of Manipur. So that's why it's very important to us to get this system working more efficient. Over the 4 years, we do get regular visits from individuals and organizations. One fine day, one of our colleagues, a friend, brought in 2 gunny sacks of photographs and negatives, and it was not catalogued. Of course, we were not very sure of where these photographs came from. He said he found them from somewhere, and then when we went through the photographs and started collecting them, we realized that they were very important photographs of the state's history, Meghalaya's history. And so began the project of digitizing them and also cataloging these photographs, negatives, and transparency slides. We've also been fortunate to get sort of documents, manuscripts from very prominent individuals from the state of Meghalaya. But that's on hold right now because, although we are an audiovisual archive, we don't say no when somebody contributes something to us. Manuscripts, digitization and working with them is on hold because we don't have the expertise yet. Just a little bit about Films Division Mumbai. So, Films Division Mumbai is a governmental organization which started in the early 1900s, and of course, through our research, we found that the Films Division had made over 300 documentaries and news items of the northeastern part of India. Again, because of the support of our funders, we were able to purchase these films on DVDs and have it in our archive. We're very happy that now researchers who would want to look at footages of the different northeastern states of India from the 1940s right up to the 1990s do not need to travel all the way to Mumbai, but actually come to Shillong and access the material that is there. Also, another thing that happens on a daily basis is cataloging of these photographs in the archive. We have a summer internship and also winter internship programs to get students from the department of our college and sometimes from outside also to come and help us catalog these photographs. Some of the work that goes on in our office. So over the years we have also learned that one of the good ways of spreading the word and publicizing about the archive is having a lot of activities because the concept of archiving, audiovisual archiving is something very new in our region. So one of the ways that we did this was by organizing a documentary film festival. We had a lot of young students, young people. In this way, we could not only talk about the films and, of course, the work of the filmmakers, but also what we do. We also recently had an oral history workshop. That's one of our major activities of the archive. Although we're just starting and sort of trying to learn on the job again, oral history is something which is very important to us because most of the communities in the northeast of India are oral-based communities. They do not have their own text. So a lot of the stories that we have exist only in the spoken word, and that's why we're trying our best also to record such stories. We've only begun in the state of Meghalaya, but we hope to expand to the other states of Northeast also. We were very fortunate to meet with the staff of the the Information and Public Relations Department of Sikkim. They invited us because one fine day we find out through an email and of course through a common friend and a researcher associated with the archive that they have about 100 cans of 16mm film. When we went to Sikkim, we realized that this footage of undigitized, not very well stored film, celluloid film, were of the Chocolate dynasty of Sikkim. So there's about right now 100 cans of film which exist, which we think are very important, and you know, that's another project that we really would want to work on, but I think I'll get to that probably towards the end. Over the years, we've been meeting with many organizations in the Northeast states, the other states. Another project which is currently going on is the documentation of migrant communities. We also have to understand that the Northeast is a very diverse region, and several communities have migrated from one area to another area of the Northeast. And this book, which my colleague Junisha is working on with another colleague of ours, Karen Donahue, is documenting the MAJAW community, who are not from Mizoram, but the MAJAW community who have lived and stayed in Meghalaya for the past 50 years. Some of these photographs from the ongoing project by Junisha. After 4 years, we realized that we had a considerable amount of material. So that's including the maybe 300 films from Films Division, plus what we have collected over the past few years. And we also realized after much discussion that for the archive to be a well-functioning public archive, the material needs to be out there. So we are collaborating with 3 other institutions right now. One is from Gangtok, and the other one's from Nagaland, and another one from Ukhrul. So we're having sort of these nodal agencies in these states, so that whatever material that we have are also available in these different states. We only have 3 collaborators right now, and we're looking for the other 4 in the next coming months. Right, so how do we get all the funding? How do we pay salaries, buy our equipment? One of the ways that we figured out was, apart from the funding and support that we get from the Sasakawa Peace Foundation in Japan, is collaborating with the government, the state government. And we've been actively pursuing this sort of line to get more funding for us so that we can continue with our work. And some of the departments and some of the work that we've been able to do is help the state government of Meghalaya set up a very basic website so that they can search, the public can search whatever photographs that they have. The next one is we assisted the tourism department of Meghalaya in cataloging thousands of photographs that are there. And we're also very fortunate to have worked with Mr. Akira Tochigi-san, who's a film archivist from Japan. And with his assistance, these projects also have been carried on. We've also assisted in providing photographs from our collection to various books and calendars commissioned by the state. So as you know, governments have quite a bit of money every year in their budgets, and we've been been able to convince them that audiovisual archive is important, not only to the state, but to our neighboring states also. And we need to do this, and we need to do this fast. We've also been able to provide a lot of material to other organizations for their exhibitions. So this is one where we sent material. The material was actually postcards which were taken by European travelers in the late 1800s and 1900s to the hill station of Shillong. Another major activity that we often conduct is something called a traveling exhibition. So we do have it in our agenda that for us to be a very lively, engaging archive, we need to take out material from the archive and go to the people, because not many people visit the archive. So this is an exhibition that we had in Batmara. So what we did that time was we loaded all the photographs and these stands into a bus, and then we drove about 8 hours to this location. That was sort of a second stop, the pilot. I'll get to the pilot in the later slides. And then it's just actually a wonderful experience when you get to show these photographs from about 30, 40 years ago. And this was actually because Meghalaya was going to turn 50 years as a state, because it was carved out of Greater Assam, the Assam state. So it's really wonderful seeing students ask many questions and then being able to interact with them. Some of them even have questions about, did you print these photographs in the printer? And we had to explain them to them about negatives and transparency slides. So this was an exhibition funded by the local district administration by the river called Simsa. That's our bus. Not our bus, I mean it's a bus which belonged to the district administration. Thankfully, the DC, the Deputy Commissioner, understood what we were doing and supported us with this project. My colleague Julisha, explaining about the collection that we had. And one thing exciting that we had after the exhibition with the school students is we had a mini quiz. So after they looked at the photographs, we went through, we had a small mini quiz. The other projects was also giving ideas to the government to create sort of a time capsule. And we also had this pilot exhibition where we had photographs in a small village in Meghalaya. I'm just going to a bit skip towards the end. Those are the exhibitions that we had. Now, one of the projects that we're very proud of is actually the digitization of the first Khasi film that was made. It was not made too long ago. It was made in 1980. With the help of some of our colleagues, we were able to locate where the gangs were, and in the summer of 2021, we could travel to Chennai, which is about 3 hours flight away from Guwahati, and we got the film digitized at Prasad Labs in Chennai. We don't have a scanning machine in the region. After 36 years, on the 18th of March, we were finally able to screen this film again, the first Khasi film. I'm just going to show you a bit of the film, just a few clips. This is a full scan of the film. It was shot in 16 mm, blown up to 35 mm. And the interesting part about this film was actually it's made by a very amateur team. The director was not even a filmmaker, cameraman was not even trained. And as the months went by during the shoot in 1980, we realized that the filmmaker got more funding. So he got black and white, not colored stock first, and then we had more money. He bought colored stock, and then he shot the rest of the film in color. More exhibitions were held this year, and that's how we've sort of been able to raise a bit of funding. But of course, that's not the point. The point is having the material that we have in the public and going out to the public and showing why it's important for us to look back at the material of the Northeast. We have quite a small website. We currently do not have videos available on the website, but we do have the catalogs that are there. So if any researcher wants to access any of the films here, they can look at the catalog and send in a request. So these are our contact details. I'd like to thank you very much. And in Khasi we say Kuble. Thank you.
next presentation is pre-recorded and it is by Elena GONNELLI and Lorenzo SERGI. Elena is a PhD student in archival studies at the University of Florence. She's worked within public and private archives as a freelancer and has collaborated on the arrangement and description of the historical archives of the Fondazione Laboratori Officine Galileo in Florence. Lorenzo is also a PhD student at the University of Cagliari and has done a period abroad as a visiting researcher at the Universidad de Barcelona. He has carried out archival work in public and private archives, combining it with participation in several scientific projects and permanent trainings. Their presentation is on changes and migrations, audiovisual collections in the face of transformations of 20th century Italian society.
Changes and migrations, audiovisual sources to the test of Italian social transformation of the 20th century. When Professor Antonio Romiti, for his definition of archive, uses the expression complex of entries, he does so because of the now recognized consistency of archive itself. The term entry, already used in the definition of Leopoldo Sandri, 1958, broadens its semantic area with respect to the word document or act by providing an actually very precise and significant solution. This way, the testimony and memory contained in archive are brought into focus, not only in their exclusively legal aspects, but most importantly, the polymorphy of documentation is also highlighted. Lucien Febvre said in 1953 that history is made with written documents, but it can be made with all that the ingenuity of the historian allow him, from wars to science, and today, inevitably, with supports other than physical ones. This enlargement emphasized the importance of collective memory, undermining the traditional sense of documents. It emphasized the reality of oral history, a discipline that only in the past few years has been usually considered academically acceptable. A discipline defined by Sandro Portelli, a ghost wanders through the corridors of the academy in one of his articles, later become famous. For years, and perhaps in part even now, the non-impartiality of the oral source was contested. Its subjectivity, due to the fact that it is born with and from the will of a historian who records the voices of people who have memory of a certain activity through a verbal investigation, an interview. It is a source that has more to do with a recollection than with memory, and therefore also under the filters of emotion, uncertainty, instability. Alessandro Portelli defines it as a potential source. One of the ICA's latest initiatives was the International Conference of Archives held in Vienna from the 23rd to 29th of August 2004. Among the various topics discussed was that of memory. In this section, topics such as oral history, oral tradition, the condition of audiovisual archives in geographical areas outside Europe, the importance of audiovisual sources in the popular culture documentation were presented. How can we approach this source from an archival point of view? The debate is wide-ranging, international, and certainly still open. The advent of technology and the possibility of record was not, even in the medium term, a good decision. Although the solution was more practical than transcriptions, it immediately lacked of the real methods. This led to hoardings of recordings, dispersion, impoverishment due to the obsolescence of the supports.
Among the earliest publications produced on the theme in Italy was an important 1988 monographic issue of the journal Rassegna degli Archivi di Stato, entirely dedicated to oral and audiovisual sources. In the wake of this experience, in 1993, the State Administration of Archival Assets published a census of private and public institutes that conserve oral sources in Italy. However, this census, that had no ambition of completion, showed more than 160 institutions preserving documentation. For the local area of interest, it seems important to focus on some results achieved in more recent times. Within the Tuscan area, a first census of oral sources was conducted in 2007, completed with data collection form. This first analysis identified 124 archives and about 115,000 items, of which large part were audiovisual. The study did not end with the census, and in 2019, the State Agency for the Protection of Archives for Tuscany established a working group with the aim of developing guidelines for the processing of oral sources, where standards could be elaborated. In 2020, the first draft of the work was presented in a fully collaborative perspective, and in October 2021, a final open access version was produced. As shown, there are many audiovisual documentary complexes studied in this region of Italy. For example, the Tuscan Regional Multimedia Center has about 10,500 video and 8,000 audio documents, making it the largest archive in terms of number of files in the province of Florence, and second only to Nomadelsia in Grosseto for all the area of Tuscany. Of this, another case of great interest for the social identity and representative connotation owned by the audiovisual documentation is surely representative, the Fondazione Laboratori Officine Galileo. The Fondazione was born on 19 September 1945 in Florence. It was a powerful and innovative expression of the will to rebuild and revitalize the working class fabric of Florence. The foundation was in fact strongly promoted by the workers who had participated in the resistance. The Second World War was a historical and social watershed for many countries and nations of Europe. For Italy, it was a moment of physical and moral devastation, but also of civil, cultural, and aggregative renaissance. The founding project of the association was to ensure, without ideological discrimination, the social and service structure linked to the factory. This had been created during fascism and was also equipped with a pluralist cultural approach that was free from the totalitarian vision of the government. The Flog Center for Popular Tradition was established in 1975 as part of the activities promoted by cultural management. The 1970s in Italy were a time of great social reformism, with the creation of regional authorities, the worker charter, changes in family law, the prison system, and psychiatric institutions. In the same way, change also followed in the cultural area, with the formalization of the concept of cultural heritage, incarnated within a proper state ministry. The Flog Center for Popular Tradition represented both souls, social and cultural, collecting audiovisual material relating to popular and factory culture. The aim was to describe, promote, and disseminate Tuscan and Italian working class and popular culture. Attention would also be paid to professions and popular traditions. The center also organized the Musica dei Popoli Festival from 1979 and from 1983 the Rassegna del Film Etnomusicale. The Multimedia Center of Popular Tradition was opened on 19 November 1983 with the aim of preserving and making available the various audiovisual materials collected from the activities of the center and of the festival it promoted.
The main activities promoted by the Center and the Multimedia Library were the collection and conservation of an oral, sound, audiovisual, filmographic, discographic, photographic, and bibliographic archive, which purposes the documentation and spread of popular tradition through the promotion of field research and the realization of educational programs. In 1995, the Multimedia Library was computerized and a catalog was drawn up and it was updated in 1998. The Fondazione Laboratori Officine Galileo Archives, which also consists of a large and recently inventoried documentary nucleus, is a private archive, however, with an associative character. It has been declared of historical interest, and this has made it possible to activate procedures in the field of state protection. The link between individuals and archives, personal stories, volunteering, militancy, and research is very strong. The protagonists at an individual level are the historian Giovanni Contini, an expert in oral tradition and today in public history, or Mario Catastini, original creator of a method of systematic documentation of the territory that he has taken as a radical commitment aimed at using the magnetophonic medium to document the sound universe of life in its cycle, in its various events, in its celebrations. This archive has experienced two main phases linked to the figures who managed its activities and who gave it their own personal style, and it was strongly involved in the scientific and political debates of their time, but it is also consistent with the guidelines of Fondazione Officine Laboratori Galileo. The engineer Gilberto Giuntini, under the guidance of the ethnomusicologist Diego Carpitella, with whom he participated in the first activities of the center. Survey campaigns in Tuscany on festivals and popular musical heritage, and the organization of the two festivals of the Rising Multimedia Center, namely People Music Festival, first festival of this kind in Italy in 1979, and the Ethnomusical Film Festival, 1983, according to guidelines strongly anchored to the principle of quality and information, which was also the title of the first conference organized by the Center in 1981, in the presentation of Italian and international musicians and repertoires. Following disagreements over the management of the structure, in 1992, Giuntini left the direction of the archive. And in 1995, Leonardo D'Amico, graduated for the Drama Arts and Music Studies University of Bologna with Roberto Leidi, was designated to carry out a general cataloging of the funds of the Multimedia Library. Later, he became the new director and also took care of the organization of the two festivals. The cut given by D'Amico corresponds both to his personal research interest, closely linked to the traditional extra-European music, and to the new policies of the association, overshadowing the survey function, which was previously a key point, choosing to invest only in the musical programming through festival. Despite the change, the search of criteria and qualitative parameters for the presentation of traditional music repertoires remains as an unvaried element, and above all, the search for authenticity in the choice of groups and musicians, intended as a rejection of musical contamination of various kinds. As in the case of world music. There are numerous productions of the Multimedia Center belonging to the first phase, including, in particular, the repertoire of Tuscan popular tradition, divided into festivals and artisanal craft in danger of extinction, and production of recent years, especially on African music. Many researchers donated materials produced during research on popular music, on the Galileo workshop, and on the memory of the anti-fascist fight in Tuscany. As we can see, therefore, the audiovisual sector counts 1,119 films and 939 audiovisual. How should we consider this? Does the term multimedia library, to identify the place of conservation, carry with it the meaning of a collection of testimonies? Or can we consider it as a sound archive, given the particular link it has with the producing institution and with the rest of documentation?
As we have already said, in Italy, proposals for the preservation and description of such sources have only been developed in recent decades. It has already been noted that there are several reasons for this Italian peculiarity, a delight that comes out when comparing Italy with countries both European, such as England or France, and non-European, such as the United States and Canada. Despite the efforts shared at the beginning of the paper, still too little attention has been paid to oral archives in Italy. And this is almost a paradox considering the characteristics that make them in need of arrangement and conservative care. They are in fact composed of extremely volatile documents whose survival is often compromised even a few years after they were recorded. Future difficulties appear to the archivists as these sources are often the result of research characterized by a very subjective approach, which makes them difficult to arrange and describe. The question of batches has also received a little attention. This is even more actual considering the latest directions taken by legislation personal data. In fact, privacy laws, both at Italian and European level, make public access to some types of documents particularly complex. Many audiovisual sources directly related to information on those points that the law aims to protect, like sexual identity, disease, religious and political opinions. In conclusion, it is clear that the audiovisual sources examined are evidence of great value for the historical reconstruction of modern Italian history. So they can be considered both the direct fruit of social transformations and mutations, but also the representation and documentary manifestation of those identity values that generated them. The case studied is intended to be one of many identifiable examples able to narrate the deepness of this relationship. Consequently, for the knowledge of modern Italian history, it became absolutely essential to focus more attention on such records, promoting their arrangement, description, and communication. Many thanks to the conference organizers. It was an honor for us to submit this Italian case to the scientific committee. So we would like to thank them for the wonderful opportunity to meet and share. Thank you all.
Can we get Rosemarie up to give her presentation? As she's making her way to the podium, let me say Rosemarie is an associate professor at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines and a research chief at the Center for Heritage Studies. She's a current board president of the Society of Filipino Archivists for Film, that's SOFIA, and representing the organization in the National Committee on Archives of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts from 2017 to 2022. Her presentation is entitled Public Screenings and Talkbacks as Awareness Raising and Memory Keeping on the CAP Memory Project. That's the Concerned Artists of the Philippines. Was got the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's a long session. We've been hearing lots of very relevant presentations from different endeavors, and particularly I will be talking about public screenings and talkbacks as awareness raising and memory keeping, and as our moderator said, it's about the Concerned Artists of the Philippines Memory Project. So I'm a board member of the Concerned Artists of the Philippines. I became a member in around November 2018. I always joke that I'm not an artist, but I'm very concerned. So as someone in the audiovisual archiving advocacy, I very well consider myself a cultural worker, and this organization also constitutes not just artists, but cultural workers in general. So, when the pandemic hit, of course, live streaming became a catchphrase with the popular use of social media. In the Philippines, I can say that everyone resorted to live streaming. When the country experienced one of the longest COVID-19 lockdowns, considered to be Philippines is having one of the longest COVID lockdown. Well, here's a research that as early as May 2021, they have probed on live streaming as an agent in facilitating social connectedness. I just want to highlight one point. But we know that because even SEAPAVAA, we definitely utilized live streaming. And the same thing with my organization, Concerned Artists of the Philippines. So, there. So the Concerned Artists of the Philippines is an organization of artists, musicians, writers, filmmakers, and cultural workers from various disciplines that works toward a nationalist, people-oriented art and culture. And that's a screenshot from the Cultural Center of the Philippines Encyclopedia of Philippine Art. It's digital. I guess there's no geo-blocking, so if you're interested to get to know about Philippine art, there's an encyclopedia online, a digital edition. So an entry about the Concerned Artists of the Philippines can be found there. So partly it states, since its establishment in 1983, CAP, or CAP, has contributed to the advocacy of fighting for the rights of artists and cultural workers in the Philippines. It roots its founding when artists and the media united to protest against censorship during the Marcos dictatorship, standing for the freedom of expression of writers, artists, and cultural workers. Around 300 artists in literature, dance, music, theater, film, and the visual arts published a full-page letter in a Manila Bulletin. It's a popular broadsheet, protesting the promulgation of Executive Order 868, later called Executive Order 876, which essentially would broaden the powers and reach of the Board of Censors to review motion pictures, television, and live entertainment. This prompted the artists to organize a massive rally at Iliwasan, Bonifacio. It's one of the public parks, carrying the slogan, "Free the Artist," which was later organized to CAT. So since then, the organization has gathered writers, artists, and cultural workers that are guided by their commitment to the principles of freedom, justice, and democracy. The organization extended its commitment to the broader people's struggle through the participation in mass actions, contribution to cultural production through progressive books, poetry readings, film screenings, music, and the visual arts. There are some of the ways, these are just some of the ways it portrayed its commitment to people's welfare. So, I just want to add, in the recent retrospective that happened in the Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, retrospective of Mike De Leon's works. Mike De Leon is a filmmaker in the Philippines. It's the first time that Signos, one of the documentaries that he kept for so long, made in 83, is attributed to the concerned artists of the Philippines, officially. So I just want to say that that is the same organization I'm talking about. The one credited to have made Signos and featured in MoMA and just recently by the Asian Film Archives, right? Because screened there and Michael went there. So, CAP has participated and organized currently in numerous events to highlight issues the Filipino people face. It has participated in conversation in order to surface issues to critical artworks, performances, and statements, among other forms of art. For instance, during the pandemic alone, it has stood its ground to defend the disenfranchisement of ABS-CBN, which its archive is a member of SEAPAVAA, and the welfare of the Filipinos through statements and other creative means. So it's an example of the artist alert that the organization issues when there's a concern that should be raised the concern. So next. So I just want to show that the organization will use those platforms or softwares, or Zoom, OBS, and Facebook Live to continue its work at the height of the pandemic. So maximizing the online space to continue with its advocacy as an organization of artists and cultural workers from various disciplines, the CAP kicked off in September 2020 an online version of its memory project, live streaming audiovisual archival content about the Philippines under repressive regimes. So, as I've said, CAP mainly uses Zoom, OBS, or Open Broadcaster System, and Facebook Live. So, CAP Memory Project, a quick background, the idea of holding memory projects arose as a response to the state's malicious red tagging. We call that, I don't know if it's used in other countries, but in the Philippines, red tagging is communist tagging. When you're red tagged, you're tagged as a communist or a terrorist. Okay, so red tagging of schools and films and art community in the late 2018. Stop the Attacks became a common call of individuals and organizations such as CAP, and respond and break the silence against killings or RESPAC. But RESPAC actually in Filipino language is meaning fight back. So, RESPAC tayo means we fight back. So, they derive their acronym from that. So, who all reflected in the power of the arts in making and unraveling of our country. So, in October 28, as I've said, there were 18 universities that screened martial-themed films, and they were accused of doing those screenings to destabilize the government. So that context, the concept of memory projects arose in response against this McCarthyist red tagging. So they are archival in nature, highlighting narratives and testimonies about the dark times of Philippine history to ground the continuing plight against impunity and justice. So that's an example of the news that it's easily searchable. There's an AFP, Armed Forces of the Philippines official, stating that the Communist Party of the Philippines recruits in Manila schools through martial law film screenings. That outright declaration. So an example of the tweet that the campus press of the University of Santo Tomas, because that university was included in the 18 schools, they responded to it. And as the headline said, universities last AFP overread is proven. So those are just examples, and not just universities stood ground. The film and arts community stood ground against it because there were also films red tagged. So not just martial law themed films, but other current films that tackle issues, current issues, especially those that look back into the martial law period. So that's why the Memory Project resolved to continue engaging with archives, objectives, narratives, and testimonies of the dark times, as I said, to ground the struggle, as we call on citizens and artists, to their struggle and fight back. To find a ground in remembering that is reflective, discursive, and deeply engaged with the past. In doing so, we find strength to understand the present and imagine a better future taking flight. So, but fast forward, after 2018, there comes the national election. Last year it happened, the national elections, presidential elections. Prior to that, social media, internet in general was used to wage a history war, the revisions of what's the version of what happened. So this proliferated in our online lives. Troll armies wage history war to push Marcos coming. So there's been two sides of the golden year, not the golden year, etc. Or the Cagliari gold, etc. I mean, those are narratives countering one another. So there's an article if you want to read. There's the How the Philippines Brutal History is Being Whitewashed for Voters. It's an investigative study on how TikTok and other social media platforms was used to rehabilitate, resuscitate the family of the Marcoses. So this cartoon, so finally, 30 years after ousting Marcos, Filipinos elected his son as president, so he's our current president. Marcos, so to differentiate, we call him Marcos Jr. So versus Marcos Sr. So this is a cartoon that I asked the cartoonist to borrow this because it's a cartoon that very well depicts the situation. It boomeranged. The Marcoses were ousted in 86. People power. It's inscribed. If we check the UNESCO Memory of the World, it's the very first inscription from the Philippines. The people power recording that ousted the dictatorship. So, but 2022, it's a boomerang. So, calls on the Stop the Attacks, Artists Fight Back campaigns dominated the narrative in behalf of the organization. So to go to the public screening, so in September 2020, to continue the work, they kicked off in September 2020 an online version of the Memory Project because it was started in 2018, as I've said. So this documentary, The Politics of Detention, is a documentary about political prisoners that then was still languishing in jail. And this is when you go to the page of the organization, this is how it looks. It's still there. Since December, Meta has been sending warnings to the organization that it might be taken down. But so far, it's still not being taken down, but not because of the memory projects, but maybe something else. But the point is, it's still there. So, but it's back up. The recordings, the screenings, and the talkbacks that are included in that Facebook Live recording are downloaded and, of course, backed up in another storage. So that's Memory Project 1, September 2020. And then Memory Project 2, Philippines, My Philippines. It's an Australian filmmaker made this film, Chris Nash, and it was shown. So in February 2021, and so far now the cap page has 39,000 followers. And this goes to the same other memory projects. You can check the Philippines by Philippines, Politics of the Country, etc. in the page. So this is how it looks when you check with Philippines by Philippines. Then the next memory project 3 is Casator. He's a political prisoner still. Well, he just celebrated his birthday last April. Is very well healthy, and his daughter, Nona Campo, made a thesis film with 2 other classmates about him. And if you check LaSalle, the Anonimo repository, it's registered. Casator documentary is registered because Nona Campo, the daughter, is a graduate of the LaSalle University, the one we heard earlier presented. It's there. It won Best Thesis, this documentary, Casator. And Sabangan, it's a product of the MOL Fund. MOL Fund is a member of SEAPAVAA and a member of our organization. Sabangan is a project of, it was born out of the film workshop of MOL Fund. So Sabangan is about the indigenous peoples and especially the Remontados in Rizal, and it's about the dam being constructed. They want to construct the Kaliwa Dam and the Kanan Dam, and until now, these dam projects are being pushed, but then it was an American funded, World Bank concern. Now it's a China-funded dam ongoing. So it's a long-standing issue happening there until now. So that's it. Bayan 84, the Luyong, are about the protest actions in March 1984 that called for the boycott of the upcoming 1984 elections then, which was exposed to be rigged. There will be cheating. Someone exposed the cheating that will happen in May 84. So there was a protest action to boycott that election. Then Kaigorotan is about post-Marcos, so it's the first few months of the new government then, the Aquino government, and they were asserting the indigenous people's rights, specifically the Igrots. That's why there's a documentary, the Cordillera folk seeking autonomy, etc. Those were the issues in that documentary. We did that all in October 2021. Then, December 2021, Edgar Hobson, there's a documentary about him, made in 86. He died earlier in the 80s. And he's an Ateneo de Manila student leader, and he was killed in Mindanao. And his story resonates until now. So, the documentary is still there in the page. And now the talkbacks. So the memory project follows the format of screening the talkback with either filmmakers and or producers, crew members. Audiences participate by posting their comments through Facebook. And then the recordings are, as I said, available in Facebook today. And prior to screenings, permissions from copyright owners are sought. Translation work are conducted for English subtitles, aiding viewing for parts with audio difficulty and in lieu of image restoration, while at the same time catering the deaf community and foreign audiences. Though eventually we had a hard time continuing with the English subtitles, but at least we put the closed caption. So still, there's something to read if they have a problem with hearing the dialogues. Then this is the behind the scenes with Chris Nash, is the filmmaker, Australian filmmaker. He joined us in this via Zoom. So that's the good thing. He joined us even if he's in Australia. And there the project behind the scene of Memory Project 3. It's the Ocampo family, the then political prisoner Satur Ocampo with his family and his kids. Nona is the one next to me in the gallery panel. So she's the one who did the film. And then it was his birthday then, so there was a greeting during live streaming. He's 82 in 2001, so he's 84 now. 84 years old. And he's one of those who really suffered hard, and in the documentary he narrated how he's tortured, including electrocution. And this is the screenshot from the Facebook live recording of a discussion with the filmmakers Jose Cuaresma and Federica Espiritu about Sabangan, the documentary about the dam project that will affect the indigenous peoples, Remontados and Dumagat. So Kakay Tolentino is an indigenous Dumagat, and though she's not particularly part of the documentary, but she knows the story because she's from the IP community that will be affected by the dam project. So this one is with the Kaigorotan series of documentary and the Lakbayan Protest March documentary. These are the one next to me in the panel is Joanna Carino. She's a veteran activist from the martial law period until now. She never changed. She's a constant, consistent advocate of social justice. She experienced also, she's a martial law survivor. And the one next to her, so me, Joanna, Bobby Roldan, he's alive then, but by December of I think last year he died. Actually there are people there who's not anymore with us, but we were able to hear from them their film production stories, the stories behind what they did to bring out the issues of death, and the other filmmakers. So anyway, and this is the Hobson family. When we screened MAJAW, December 2021, everyone's there. So his kids, Riza is in Germany, Noe is in the United States of America. There's one daughter, she's not there in the screenshot, but she's there in the Zoom. She's in the Philippines. After the screening, she posted something about she didn't want to open the video because she's too emotional, and that. So the sisters of MAJAW is Osam and Inday and Marie, and Joy Hobson is the widow. So my co-moderator is Lisa Ito, the Secretary General of CAP. She teaches art theory in the College of Fine Arts in the University of the Philippines. And a transition, we started doing the in-person because BBC Archives doesn't allow online screening of their documentary. We were allowed a special screening of Third Eye to Sing Our Own Song. That is Senator Jose Jokno, is one of the very staunch martial law advocate against martial law, and he is as early as 1776. There's a documentary that contains him as a keynote key informant. So it's one of the consistent leaders too against the dictatorship. So it's one event that has very many collaborators, including the government agencies, Human Rights Violations Victims Memorial Commission. We already have that, the MEMCOM. They're tasked to ensure that all martial law victims are recognized. So it's still existing so far, that agency. There's a law that protects its establishment. The Bantay ng Mabayani, it's in charge of the making sure of the memories via the museum, Wall of Remembrance, recognizing the various heroes and martyrs of the Marcos martial law period. So commissioning human rights and the organization and the Center for Heritage Studies of our university. So it's a mixed thing. Face-to-face screening and talkback, but we managed to record the talkback and upload it online. So this screenshot is from, it's from the Facebook recording of the talkback, but no documentary included because we're not allowed to live stream that. So so that's Lisa, me, then Attorney Jos Adela, to represent the young lawyers who are similar to the advocacy of Attorney Jokno of People's Lawyering, and the grandson of attorney of Senator Jokno. That's Pepe Jokno, a filmmaker, the one in pink, and the one is the relative of a martial law victim. So we invited representatives to talk about the content of the film and how it relates to the generation now. So Memory Project 10 is again online. So from 1 to 10, 9 is the face-to-face, then the rest are online. So No Time for Crying, it's an Asia Visions documentary that got funding from Christian Aid. We're still looking for the original copy of this because the organization, Even Foundation, the custodian of the collection, has a humanity version of the film, but it's not that very, very good copy. So this is the screenshot of the talkback for that documentary. This is now Memory Project 11. This is born out of the archival research from the Netherlands Institute for Sound and Vision. We were allowed to screen it in Batayang Bayani in June 2022. It's the 1976 documentary that discussed about the martial law in the Philippines, going on the 4th year of martial law. So it's one of the very early documentary about martial law in the Philippines. Entrela en Manila, I hope I really tried the Philippine understand ban release. So it's like Philippine under attack. So these are the screenshots made by for KRO by Andrew Truman. He's a Flemish journalist for the public broadcaster KRO of the Netherlands. So this is the photo of the screening in June 2020. It's just under attack with a big television. But we combined Memory Project 9 and 11 to make Memory Project 12. It's a combination of the BBC docu with the Dutch docu, because the same person that is prominently interviewed there is Jose Jokno. So it's like you can track what happened, the political development from 76 to around 82. Critical to that is you can see the change in the political stand of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church in 76 was very supportive of the martial law. They said that it's better to have a dictator who still believes in religion than atheist, communist atheist. The Cardinal Sim is heard in the Dutch docu saying that, but in the BBC documentary, he's saying a different thing already. So you can trace the political development of the period. And there's a photo when we did that. We invited the son of Jose Jokno, Chel Jokno. He ran for senator. Sadly, he didn't win last election. But it was the first time that he saw the documentaries. So, he saw the other documentary, the BBC documentary, but not the very good copy that BBC archives lent to us. So, those are the shots from the UB Film Center documentation. And we did, this time it's not about film. It's a visual arts exhibit with talkback. It's an exhibition by he died already, Neil Delaricon. He's a social realist artist. He became the chairperson emeritus of CAP during the time he died. And this is one of his the COVID pandemic artwork. He made that 2020 and he died July 2021. So that's it. The talkback related to the exhibit. Just a few slides, 2 or 3. Then this very last Memory Project, last December, during the Human Rights Month, we combined the politics of detention. Remember Memory Project 1? And then a very relatively new documentary about political prisoners, River of Tears and Rage. You can also view that online. It's available online, the River of Tears and Rage. It's about a political prisoner who she She gave birth in prison, and her son, River, got separated from her, and so Reina got separated from River, the baby, and the baby died after a few weeks or months, and so it's about their story. And she was even the police, in a way, hijacked the funeral. People were slowly marching, and the police commanded the funeral casket to speed away. So the casket was first reached the cemetery, and everyone just followed. She was not really allowed to stay long for the funeral thing. So that's the documentary containing those incidents. So that's the talk back with the next to me is the mother. She's the mother of the political prisoner Reina. And fast forward a few weeks after this talk back, Reina was released. So she's free now. So there's I guess something good about this. So anyway, we had a symbolic candlelighting after the Memory Project 14, and we had other spin-offs. If we don't call it Memory Project, but essentially similar to what we're doing. So this one is Beyond the Walls of Prison. I hope I get to let you see the clip of Beyond the Walls of Prison later tonight at the archival gems. And then Enzo was brought to his university, Ateneo de Manila. They have the Ateneo Art Gallery. It was shown there in September. Because September of last year is the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Martial Law by Marcos Sr. And yeah, last, another spin-off in the College of Social Work and Community Development in UP. They did a similar memory project with talkback with the concerned artists of the Philippines. So I would like to show the clip, but no anymore. I'll just share it. Maybe in some other way. Wait. So essentially, we try not to. Yeah, we really make sure we never forget. Thank you.
I will now open the floor for a few questions, but let me take advantage of the mic and ask Rose. You gave a fascinating presentation of what seems to be a very Filipino model of resistance to repression, from the People's Power of 1986 People Powers Revolution, which continues to the present. And we've seen that radio, film, filmmaking, and so on have played a great role in this. But what do you see to be the public response, and what additional difficulties do you think may arise
we really need to reach out to more people. I think we still need to be more, well, in our term, makulit, we need more persevering. Because when we, like in Ateneo, the Manila, the screening of EJO, the school of EJO, it's relatively like maybe 40 or 50 people in there. But the quality, the online streaming might reach more people, but the quality of engagement in face-to-face reading is still much better, because you can really clearly see their facial reaction. You really know if you're on the same page. But at the same time, we really have to maximize the online streaming. So our challenge is both, how to still continue doing both to reach more people. And for the maybe repercussions of that, personally, the worst case that I've experienced was not recently, but in 2018, when the schools, the 18 schools were listed. 2 of the schools, I was able to curate martial law films. I was interviewed for the late night news. When the news came out, I was tasked online. I can tolerate that if it's just me, because it's me. It's part of the, that's how dirty they play. But it's okay, it's me. But what I didn't like is when they tried to scrape photos of my son from my personal account. Then there's no locking of profile in Facebook. So although my profile was in friends only setting, I was still able to get the photo of my son and post it on the news site, attacking me like, you're training the youth to be rebels, including yourself, something like that. I was able to track him through the employer, so I was able to just counter that. But maybe that's a personal repercussion, or organizationally you should really be aware of there might be very, rabid individuals who would be so brave. Is that bravery? Because you don't see them face to face. So they're really relentlessly with perspective. So I guess just handling them would be. But it's another thing for the new law that is taking place. There's an anti-terror law already in the Philippines. So we're still trying to handle that, because that's another story.
You talked about the region you serve, which has a large variety of languages and indigenous people, and I congratulate you on what you have managed to achieve so far in collecting and digitizing these elements of heritage. My question is, how difficult has it been for you to be as equitable as possible in collecting information and digitizing it? In other words, ensuring that all communities feel that they have been included and not neglected or overlooked in your work.
Thank you for the question. I think it's right now, because our region is very new to audiovisual archiving. Firstly, the big challenge is making people understand, and yes, this problem of representation and how can we sort of give as much attention as possible to all the states is always there. So one of the ways that we're going about it is reaching out to different organizations in the different states, and trying to make them understand why audiovisual archiving is important. And of course, we're still in that process. And I must say that we have at present a large collection. Maybe 50% of our collection is based only only of 2-3 major communities, and we'd like to obviously have more of the other communities. So this is our 4th year as an archive. We sort of have a workflow on how to go about this. So the next would be to reach out and getting what you had stated, getting it done.
Anyone, any questions from the floor? I see none. Let me then turn to our Italian colleagues and thank them for the analysis of the difficulties of preservation of mixed collections that support oral memory, testimonies, among others. And this has been done in a very fast-changing environment. I know that you've been working solely with Italy and this is your field, but I was wondering how difficult or how possible you think it might be to replicate what you're doing in other regions such as Asia and Pacific.
In my opinion, it's possible to duplicate this project another region, but it's very important to analyze the importance of the documentation, like a single connection between the life of institution and the life of person, and so the subjective point of view of this institutional context, in my opinion, is very, very important that we could use a debate open in front of collaborating group with historian, with archivists. For example, in Italy, this is very, very important because when we understood the importance of collaborating and working together on this field, the matter, the discipline was strongly reconsidered also in the academic field. So while historians today reflect on the context and use the historical source, archivists analyze the audiovisual supports and their cataloging methods. So I think the project in Italy has a peculiarity for the identity, for the social reformation, but in other region, in other state, it's possible, in my opinion, to duplicate. So I hope that that the answer was. Thank you. Thank you.
Therefore, I wish to thank our presenters this afternoon, Nathaniel, Rose, Elena, and Lorenzo, for their lovely presentations that have given us an overview of some of the difficulties that they have experienced of collecting memories in different parts of the world. And I'd like to give a big round of applause to all of them.